you know, in terms of other topics, you've talked a little bit about what's happening in the community here as the financial services sector. Can you give us some examples
definitely.
of that momentum?
I've spoken a lot about greenwashing, right? Right. But like I said, when I meet members like yourself, I'm in such a fortunate position that I'm just so much positivity from the work they're doing, but others aren't hearing that. And it creates that either that less is happening around sustainable finance, like I mentioned earlier. But we had our Sustainable Finance Awards ceremony on the 30th of April, and the Sustainable Finance Award ceremony were such a fantastic illustration of how much is going on in sustainable finance in Jersey. Right. So there's loads of reasons why we have the awards, and I'll go into that in a bit more detail. But in terms of some really basic metrics, right, that award ceremony, despite all the hesitation and negativity around the world, anti-ESG rhetoric, had more registrations and attendance at the event than we've ever had at any of our awards ceremonies before, which is fantastic. And this is the 4th award ceremony, right? And also in terms of entries per category, we were the highest by far, right? And there are different variables, you know, we've had different awards at different times, right? And different categories, but you know, they're great illustrations. And I think it'd be interesting to get your views on how you found the ceremony. Obviously, you guys were very successful at the ceremony, so well done again for that. But it was a great event, and we changed the format of the ceremony. So we tried to communicate some of those fantastic stories during the ceremony, which was great as well. The feedback we've had from the night was amazing, and we're now in the next stage from it. So it's all about getting those entries turned into case studies so we can communicate them to the industry, to inspire and galvanize them, show us what's possible, so you know, they can hopefully learn from the challenges firms like you may have had and how to overcome them. But the big thing for us, especially as you know, Time to Wins was launched, and the report's out for everyone to digest, right? And that's putting a greater emphasis on Jersey finance and the island as a whole to get better on externally promoting ourselves, right? And so on that, some of these case studies will be fantastic material for us to communicate what we're doing in Jersey around sustainable finance and all the expertise we have. Not that you know, so-and-so's got this qualification, but he's already been involved in this transaction, which is, you know, 7 million loans have been made to small businesses in Africa, supporting the Sustainable Development Goals, for example, right? It's such a useful tool to do, right? And so although there's this negativity and hesitation around greenwashing, this is a fantastic way to get out of that cycle and get more case studies heard. And I'm also part of the City UK's International Climate Working Group, and they're developing a Team UK playbook, which is all about promoting the UK for sustainable finance. And they're looking for case studies on that. So I sent them a few of our case studies that we've already got live on our website, and they've selected one that they'd like to feature on that. So again, it's a great way to get our story heard and show the expertise we have here.
Isn't it just? Well, it goes back to how we started this conversation, your excellent intro. It is all about storytelling and communication, isn't it? Very, very much so. And I, as an attendee at those awards over the last 4 years, I would agree the number of attendees is growing. Obviously, the quality of the submissions, as you've conveyed there, is getting much better. And, you know, it was great for us to win awards, and we're very supportive of that. But I think it's a wonderful platform to showcase the expertise on the island and what is being done, which is your point. Another point, going back to what we said earlier, sustainability is all about collective action. And when you listen to those stories and you talk to people before or after the ceremony and publication of the case studies, you kind of galvanize momentum around that. And again, I think those awards are a wonderful example. And you've persevered with those, I'm sure, because it's been hard work. And the judging panel, you know, they have some strict criteria, don't they, to ensure that there is genuine credibility around who's winning those awards.
Yeah, definitely. And it was really satisfying the way it all came together, I've got to say, because you're right, there's a lot going on behind the scenes to get to where we did. And I have to applaud all the Jersey finance team that aren't on the stage, right, that you don't see
very
behind.
Professional.
So
very
great
professional.
job. But I think and we've touched on this at times, but maybe in not a lot of detail, that on a global level, it's still happening, right? So I've got a few examples of that. So you'll be aware of the TNFD. You know, we had David Craig speak, co-chair of TNFD at the award ceremony. And he gave a great example of the momentum around sustainable finance in terms of the adoption around the world of the TNFD in 2025, that increased by almost 50%.
Yeah.
Right, that's incredible, right?
Yeah.
And then also I mentioned the City UK working group I'm part of. They showed a stat at the last working group meeting which said 70% of FTSE 100 companies have already voluntarily developed many of the key elements of a transition plan.
Yes.
Right, that's amazing.
It is.
And I think as well that one thing in terms of momentum and trends that I'm seeing is that now sustainable finance is done for economic and the business reasons, right?
Absolutely.
Before people question that, and I think I know certainly because the elections are going on locally, you hear some discussions in rhetoric where I had one recently. It was saying, someone said, and I won't give the whole like paragraph of what he said or the question, but it was something like Jersey contributes 0.001% to the environment. Why are we trying to tackle climate change and spend our money on it? Right. And then you hear ones like humans only add X% extra carbon. Net zero is a load of crap. Right. Excuse my language. And I'm sure you've heard those type of comments before, and maybe we can come back to that. But for me, like I mentioned, what is driving the change now and the trends we're seeing is that, and this renders those rhetorics obsolete, right, is that it makes business economic sense to do it, right?
Yeah.
And so going back to City UK, that it's 3 times faster growth in the UK's net zero sectors than the overall economy in 2024, right? That's incredible, right?
It is, isn't it? Yeah.
And then in many parts of the world, and you're already close to this, new utility scale solar is now among the cheapest sources of new electricity generation, cheaper than new coal, gas, or nuclear plants in most parts of the world, right? And then I'll talk at a personal level, right? I'm hopefully completing on a new house soon, right? Selling our house.
Fingers crossed.
Yeah, fingers crossed. And then one of the first things I want to do is get off oil and go onto solar panels.
Yes,
right? And so the latest quote we've had from this firm is that if we get solar panels put up on our house with the battery we want to get as well, which helps us use the solar energy throughout throughout the year and when it's dark and cloudy, is that we'll get a return on our investments on the projections in 4 to 5 years.
Well,
that's so it just shows, and I know I'd be fortunate to do it because I'd made that investment up front, which a lot of people can't do, right?
Yeah.
But that's an example that, there's initiatives in the UK where all new houses from next year, I think, will have to have solar panels on them. And sometimes people criticize that and go, why are we trying to do this? But we're trying to do it for sustainable reasons, but also because it makes economic sense, because in 4 to 5 years, that return of investment will be realized, and then you've got less reliance on global trends and turmoil that we're seeing.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree more. And I think it's a good point for us to finish on now is, the commercial, sustainability, sustainable finance is increasingly making financial sense, economic sense. The energy transition story is moving into the energy security story, isn't it? That resilience that we mentioned about earlier. And, at all levels, cost of living issues. If you're generating your own electricity, and, we don't want to inhibit the revenues of Jersey Electric here, or the Jersey Electricity here, but it helps your cost of living, your budgets, doesn't it? And all of these things coming together are an illustration that if you are investing in this space, or whether you're using it practically or being an investor and allocating capital, you can make strong returns.
I'll say one last point, because I think this is a great one, because my wife was showing me her pension the other day, right? And it's through Capital Sustainable Growth Fund. Right? And I was blown away and very jealous of it. That since June 2024, the returns have been 19%.
It has.
And that's another example of the business case for doing this.
It is. That sustainable solution now in the capital world has been rebranded as Better World, but it's the identical solution. No, not at all. It's the Better World Growth solution. And it's very kind of you to mention that. It has become a very, very rewarding place to allocate capital. And for long-term savers in a pension, for example, it's an ideal solution. So thank you, Tom. I've really enjoyed that conversation.
I have as well. Thank you, Ross.
I know we've whizzed around the world and covered a few topics, but it's been very enjoyable to spend some time with you.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.